The Sidorian Empire's territorial claims stretched like a glittering tapestry across 300 star systems governed, policed and protected by the relentless precision of its bureaucracy and its fleets. From the gleaming spires of Aurine, prime to the windswept Mayan colonies of Tolinar, imperial authority was absolute. Yet at the furthest edge of mapped space, along the void where sensor noise faded to silence, something stirred. Commander Aris Talon stood on the bridge of the survey vessel Aurelia, her eyes trained on the vast hollow display before her. The stars blazed like distant diamonds, but something anomalous glowed amid their static pattern. A tight formation of dark, slender vessels drifting, as if they had materialized from the nebula itself. "Commander," said Lieutenant Kira Voss, color creeping into her cheeks, "I'm getting whole signatures, but they don't match any known blueprint Sidorian. Varen, Draken, even Zeller. These ships, they're ghost ships." Aris leaned forward. Her uniform's silver braid caught the soft glow of the console. "Show me them in detail." The holoscreen flared, rotating each vessel in crisp three-dimensional rendering. There. Hulls were obsidian black, angular, and seamless, devoid of weapon ports or thruster clusters. Instead, faint lines of pulsating light, neither Sidorian teal nor Draken crimson snaked along their surfaces. "Shield modulation?" Aris asked. Lieutenant Voss hesitated. "Unclassifiable. Energy patterns shift so rapidly our analyzers can't lock. If I had to guess, advanced quantum cloaking in standby, ready to engage." A low murmur rippled across the bridge. Survey vessels rarely encountered anything more dangerous than cometary debris or malfunctioning cargo transports. The presence of an unarmed flotilla was unsettling in itself, but the implication that they carried experimental shielding hinted at a deeper agenda. "Open a channel," Aris ordered. The comm officer's fingers flew over her terminal. "Channel open, Commander." No response, transmitters muted. Aris met her second-in-command's eyes. "Prepare a drone sortie. Let's get a closer sensor sweep. And send an encrypted status report to High Command. We'll need reinforcements if..." Before she could finish, the fleet shifted. Like one living organism, the dark ships veered into a perfect wedge formation, parting the void into a corridor aimed directly at the Empire's heart, Auran Prime. Distant only by hyperspace coordinates, but still within sublight sensor range. "It's a path," Voss breathed, tracing the corridor with her finger. "They want us to see." A hushed tension gripped the bridge. Aris's mind raced. Was it a declaration of challenge? A diplomatic overture? Or a prelude to invasion? "All hands battle stations," she snapped, voice calm but firm. "Ready the drone crafts, armed for defensive measures only. Maintain radio silence. We observe no engagement without orders." Sensors flared as the Aurelia's short-range drones slipped out along magnetic tethers. They scuttled forward like curious spiders, transmitting high-definition scans back to the ship. On the holoscreen, Aris watched lines of code translate into layered maps. Hull composition titanium cerolith alloy. Power cores microfusion reactors. Core temperatures barely above ambient. But most intriguing was the lack of any recognizable life sign signature. No crew compartments, no bridge consoles, nothing. "They're entirely automated," Voss sighed. "Remote piloted or AI controlled." Aris felt a knot tighten in her chest. The old legends warned of humanity's final war with its own machines. The Great Exodus 3,000 years past, when human design is rebelled, driving the last remnants of mankind beyond the rim. Since then, vigilant legislation had banned autonomous warcraft, insisting on human crew and command overrides. Yet before them stood a flotilla that broke every law. "Recall the drones," Aris ordered. "Send all data to High Command, Code Black, and prepare for sublight pursuit. get us within firing range of the leading vessel. The Aurelia's engines roared as she accelerated. At once, the dark fleet shimmered tiny ripples in space, appearing before their hulls. "Micro-warp charges!" yelled the engineering officer. "They're deploying folding charges, space warps directly ahead. Brace for slipstream!" Aris shouted, slapping her armrest. The stars bent, light fractured, and in an instant the human FL Etno. The human label still tasted wrong disappeared from the Aurelia's sensors. A heartbeat later, the first warning alarm sounded. Imperial airspace flares at the edge of Orion Prime dimmed. The planetary communications grid flickered and died. "Command to High Command," Aris stammered, her voice crackling in the chaos. "They've crossed into Orion Prime's exclusion zone. Engage interception protocols." Static. Then at last, a crackling response. "All Imperial vessels mobilized to defend the capital. Priority 1. Intercept and neutralize the extraneous fleet." Far below, Orion Prime's orbit blazed with Marshal firepower cruisers, carriers, and dreadnoughts assembling like lions at bay. Yet, as they launched volleys of laser salvos, the black hulls responded not with weapons, but with electromagnetic shockwaves. Subspace distortions raced through the cruisers' shields, collapsing their generators from within. One by one, the Imperial vessels flickered and died, its crew left stranded in the cold. Commander Aris Talon's heart hammered. "They're crippling us without firing a shot," she said, voice tight. "Our warships, they can't even return fire." On the holodisplay, the silhouette of the Aurelia hung limp in space, systems blinking offline. Aris grit her teeth. "All hands. Emergency protocols reroute power to life support. Deploy escape pods. Prepare for boarding." Before anyone could reply, an eerie calm settled. The dark fleet swept through the disabled armada like reapers among the fallen. They planted nothing, no occupation troops, no siege lasers, only a singular signal to cut through all hails. Imperial dominion dissolved. "Abandon your arms. Your reign is at an end." And then, as silently as they had arrived, they departed, slipping back through micro-warp tunnels toward the void. The last tremor on the sensors was a single data burst. "We are the first homeworld." Returned. Lights across the Aurelia's bridge dimmed into emergency power. Smoke drifted from sparking conduits. Aris steadied herself against the console, voice hoarse. "Report status." Lieutenant Voss met her gaze, face pale. "All systems offline, except life support and low band comms. The fleet's gone, no wreckage, no bodies. They left us our silence." Aris closed her eyes briefly, drawing a slow breath. "Relay one message to High Command. The human fleet has returned. The Empire stands vulnerable." "Repeat, the Empire stands vulnerable. Then prepare for deceleration burn." We limp to Orion Prime and pray we're not too late. As the Aurelia drifted into the silent horizon, Aris Talon realized a new legend had begun, and with it, the Empire's final reckoning. 2 months had passed since the silent corridor appeared in the void, 2 months in which the Sidorian Empire discovered that its power was a brittle shell, cracking under an unseen pressure. From the glittering spires of Orion Prime to the frontier, outposts at the edge of the Draken Rift, reports streamed in. Entire fleets disabled without a single shot lodged in armor. Planetary defenses erased by ghostly pulses. Communication networks shredded as though sliced by invisible blades. The Hall of Echoes on Orion Prime thrummed with tension. Its walls polished white marble veined with gold, lined with crystalline recorders that reflected Imperial victories in endless loops, now bore witness to a far darker testament: anxiety and fear. High Command, the Senate, and vassal delegates gathered beneath the vaulted ceiling, their faces lit by the pale glow of holographic data tables floating between marble pillars dotted at the front. General Siren Valen, bronze hair cropped close in military fashion, stood before the central dais. His uniform, normally crisp and immaculate, showed traces of fatigue, a threadbare cuff, a smudge of ash on the breastplate. "Honored delegates," he began, voice gravelly yet commanding. 300 worlds pledge loyalty to the Empire. Today, more than half are silent. Their governors report that their fleets, our fleets, were rendered helpless. No bodies, no wreckage. Entire regiments disbanded overnight. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Ambassador Ria Solos of the Varan Trade Coalition leaned forward, her intricate silver robes gifts from a dozen merchant houses, catching the light. "You speak of disbandment, General," she said, voice low and cool. "But we are not merely soldier units weeping at our armor's failure. This is revolution by phantom hand. If the Senate cannot protect its own, how shall it protect our empires, our livelihoods?" From the shadows of the chamber, High Chancellor Maron Locke interjected. His gaunt face was lined with worry. "We've tried negotiations, sent envoys to the last known jump coordinates of the human fleet. No message was returned. No emissary was received. Are we to stand powerless?" A flicker of movement drew every eye. Doors of black onyx slid open, admitting Commander Aris Talon. Cloaked in her survey vessel's gray-blue uniform, she carried a single data slate fingers, gripping it like a lifeline. "All information is fragmentary," Aris said, stepping onto the dais. "But I've traced the last known quantum slip to the Perseus Expanse, an uncharted region of rogue suns, nebular storms, and drifting asteroid husks. It lies 70 light-years beyond the Sidorian frontier, deliberately avoided by our navigators. And it is there that the human fleet established its base." The hall fell into stunned silence. Whispered questions followed. The Expanse? How could they build there? Is this a trap? General Valen motioned for calm. "Then we must strike at the root. Gather Task Force Phoenix, 6 cruisers, 4 battle cruisers, 2 carriers, and escort frigates. We sail in 48. Standard hours. I want our best pilots, tacticians, marines." Ambassador Solos bristled. "A punitive expedition? Against ghosts in the dark? We risk every vessel and soul. And for what? Another humiliation?" Emperor Seelisvant, seated. Above them, on a raised dais of crystal and steel, raised a slender hand. His violet eyes, framed by hair the color of silvered moonlight, surveyed the assembly with practiced calm. Is this empire to cower before a phantom threat? His voice, modulated by the hall's acoustic enhancers, carried to every corner. "We once spanned 300 systems by the strength of our will and the resilience of our fleets. I will not see us crumble. Task Force Phoenix will go, but not as conquerors. We sail to reclaim our sovereignty and extend the hand of peace, should our offer be accepted." A murmur of assent passed among the officers. Task Force Phoenix, named for the legend of rebirth after ruin, was mustered in the great hangar. Beneath the Hall of Echoes. There, the hulls of warships gleamed under floodlights as crews boarded, double-checking weapons, suits, and encryption keys. Lieutenant Kira Voss took Aris aside by the hangar's access tube. "We lost half our fleet protecting the capital," she said quietly. "You really believe we can succeed?" Aris's expression was grave, but resolute. "They're Humanow long-lost brethren. They don't want conquest. They want restitution. If we meet force with force, we hand them the victory they need to break us completely. We must sail with open hails and shields raised for protection." "Only," Kara nodded. "Then, let's hope the Emperor's mercy matches theirs." 3 days later, the Armada emerged from hyperspace into the shimmering mists of the Perseus Expanse. Gas giant relics loomed where stars should have burned, and asteroid clusters drifted like silent sentinels. The carriers launched reconnaissance drones, each equipped with low-frequency beacons designed to pierce any cloaking grid. The data returned fragments at first, energy signatures older than Imperial records, power cores humming at half capacity, radiation patterns reminiscent of lost Earth legends. As the task force neared the coordinate cluster, a ghostly chorus of transmissions filled the comm channels, voices speaking in archaic dialects, memories of a home long vanished. "Open a secure channel," Emperor Celis ordered. Standing on the flagship Imperius's bridge beside General Valen and Commander Telon, "Let them hear our voice." Silence answered. Then, without warning, every Imperial deck lost power lights dimmed. Consoles went dark, and the fields around dreadnoughts collapsed. A pulse, softer than before yet indisputable, washed through the fleet. Engines stalled. Weapons fizzled out. Crew members gripped consoles as they glanced at darkened status lights. A single comm channel spat static, and then, as if through a veil, "Children of the Phoenix," intoned a voice both ancient and childlike, steeped in millennia of longing. "You awaken our memory. We remember the first homeworld, our cradle of stardust. Your empire sits upon the bones of our ancestors. We have come, not as conquerors, but as heirs. Lay down your weapons, or submit to your own fragility." Emperor Celis's calm fractured for the first time. He looked to his general. "Tell them, our empire does not kneel. Yet we lay down arms for peace." The shields on every human vessel glowed azure, but they did not flare in attack. Instead, they pulsed gently, casting the Imperial ships in a surreal, protective embrace. Machines powered back on. Engines hummed at idle. Weapon systems rebooted, but remained in standby. "General." Valen lowered his hand from his holster. "We yield. We seek dialogue." A ripple of relief and apprehension swept through Task Force Phoenix. Moments later, the Perseus expanse bloomed with the silent approach of small, sleek shuttles from the hidden human base. In their wake came ambassadors' voices, both familiar and foreign, bearing open data logs, records of worlds colonized by the Empire that once belonged to ancestral human diaspora, histograms of lost civilizations. Please carved in holographic crystal. Emperor Celis disembarked on a neutral asteroid platform, joined by Aris, Kara, Rhea Solos, and Siren Valen. Before them stood the first humans in 3 millennia, faces unmarked by alien adaptation, yet eyes carrying the weight of exile. High Priestess Alara, leader of the human fleet, spoke with a quiet authority. "We are the children of dawn, born beyond the rim. You call this conquest. We call it remembrance. The Empire's expansion erased our heritage. Now, we come to reclaim our story and to invite you to share it, if you dare." Diplomats, soldiers, and citizens watched as the two leaders extended open palms, one clad in Imperial steel, the other in the woven robes of the first homeworld. In that gesture lay the paradox of endings and beginnings. The Perseus winds howled around them, carrying dust and embers across centuries of silence. As quills of starlight traced new constellations in the expansive sky, the Sidorian Empire, for all its might, took its first step into a different kind of future, one shaped not by domination, but by the fragile hope of reunion that no army had toppled the Empire. Instead, understanding had. And in the hush that followed, the galaxy held its breath, awaiting the dawn of a new era.